Good day everyone. This is Chapter 6 Strategic Planning for Small Business. First, the resources at the disposal of the entrepreneur are always thought to be limited in spite of the limitations. However, entrepreneurs are not discouraged from pursuing their objectives. They can make use of techniques that have been proven valuable business operations. So, yung mga resources daw na pinagkukunan ng mga entrepreneurs is nagiging limited na lang. So, nagiging challenge siya sa isang entrepreneur kasi limited yung mga resources na pagkukunan nila. So, despite doon na ganun yung challenges is hindi sila nadi-discourage na hindi ituloy yung gagawin nilang business. So, ang gagawin nila is magsiisip sila ng techniques para na proven na alam nilang ikaangat ng kanilang business. So, the first topic is what is strategic planning. What is strategic planning? So, strategic planning refers to the process of determining the primary objectives of the entrepreneurship and then adopting courses of action and allocating resources to achieve those objectives. So, sa strategic planning is malalaman mo or dito ka magsiset ng goal on how to achieve your business on to accomplish a specific goals. Ito is para ma-achieve ng isang company yung efficiency and accuracy na tinatawag to meet yung business goals ng isang entrepreneur. So, sa isang strategic planning, meron tayong tatlong distinct step. So, first is determination of primary objectives. Second, adoption of courses of action. Third, allocation of resources. First, the determination of objectives. So, the objectives of the firm are important components of the firm's strategic planning activities, but before these are determined, the firm's mission statement must first be developed. So, sa determining of objectives, mahalagang malaman and ma-identify yung objectives na gusto ng isang entrepreneur o ng isang business. So, first, kailangan daw is ma-examine muna yung project goals na tinatawag. So, yun yung mga goals na sinet nyo. So, it is aim, our long-term result of project. So, it indicate ano ba yung business na sa business ba, ano yung gusto nyong ma-achieve sa project. Next is mission statement. This term refers to the basic description of the fundamental nature, rationale, and direction of the firm. It consists of 3 concerns. So, sa mission statement daw is why an organization exists, what is overall goal is, identifying the goal of its operation. Yun, sa mission daw is meron dun 3. What you do it, and why you do it. So, sa bawat entrepreneur daw is kailangan na andun yung nakasulat na yung detailed na mission statement because magbibigay yun at magpo-provide sa isang employee yung purpose ng mission. At sa mission statement, kailangan ito yung klaro at kapag i-declare mo na yung mission na gusto mo, yung gusto mong yung plinan yun na to achieve is kailangan estimated or nandun talaga yung pinaka-details niya. So, meron daw 3 concerns sa the mission statement. So, 1 is how the entrepreneur intends to use his resources. 2, how the entrepreneur expects to relate to the ever-changing environment. And 3, the kinds of values the entrepreneur intends to offer to his customer. So, yun yung yung parang sa number 2 is yung sa pag-change ng environment, ito yung parang yung mga trend na i-business, ganun, mga trend ng kunwari products, ganyan. Tapos yung lugar kung saan mo ibebenta, kung sa market, sa mall, o saan. Next is strategic objectives. This term refers to the specific performance targets that entrepreneurship hopes to accomplish. The objectives define in specific terms how the firm's mission will be realized. So, ito yung mga target na gusto i-accomplish ng isang business o ng isang entrepreneur. Kunwari, sa paggawa ng production ng 50%, kailangan matapos ng 2 years. So, yun yung tinatawag na strategic objectives, yung pag-target ng kung paano mo i-process yung isang business mo or yung mga products na gagawin mo is may target ka ng time, kailangan measurable, tapos yung ilang days, years, yun, weeks, ganyan, yun. Lastly, the adoption of course of action. After the primary or strategic objectives are established, the entrepreneur must develop a strategy which is alternately called course of action. A strategy is a carefully designed plan for achieving the firm's objectives. A strategy indicates how the entrepreneur will attempt to accomplish the goals with the resources available. So, ito na. Sa adoption of course of action, yung plinano mo is gagawin mo na into action. On how to accomplish the goals, yung sinet yung goals, to yung mga resources na available. So, isa sa example ng isang strategy is mag-i-establish ka ng branches na yung location is madaming tao, kasi nakaka-catch ng eye yun eh. Pag yung place of business nyo is naando sa maraming tao, kasi mas maakit mo yung customer na pumunta sa nyo, company. Tapos, syempre, magagawa ka ng design na nakakaakit sa mata talaga ng tao. And, syempre, mag-hire ka ng high potential person na ilalagay mo sa mismong business mo. Kasi the more na knowledgeable ka and kahit wala ka experience, basta alam mo yung gagawin mo and gusto mo yung work na pinasukan mo. Kasi nasa tao din kasi yun eh. Yung kung paano mo ipapalakad yung isang business and paano mo gagawin yung work mo. And para makaakit ng ibang tao sa isang business. So, in developing realistic strategies, the entrepreneur can make use of the most popular tools. These are the following. So, one, SWOT analysis. Ito yung mga strengths and weaknesses ng isang business. So, second is the forecast of future sales performance. Yung mga magiging performance mo, performance ng isang business at yung sales in the future.
The firm which is fully aware of its internal environment, especially its strengths and weaknesses, as well as external environment, especially threats and opportunities, is most likely to develop a strategy that considers the firm's need. It's that the firm is said to have a wide awareness of the internal environment, especially of the strengths and weaknesses of a firm, as well as the external environment, because this is where the threat and opportunity that comes with you or you have to worry for. SWOT is an organized method of assessing firm strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats in confront or will confront the firm. Here in the SWOT analysis, it can be seen that the weaknesses and strengths of the companies, or if they can deal with the opportunities and threats to the company. The firm's strengths refers to a skill, a competence, a valuable organizational resource, or competitive capability or achievement that gives the firm a market advantage. Example of strengths are as follows. 1. A recording firm's unique line of contract singers. Number 2, a company's ownership of the land that is the source of high-grade material required for producing its product. Number 3, the strategic location of the firm's sales office. And number 4, the firm's exclusive supply contract with a reliable manufacturer.
The firm's weaknesses refers to something a company lacks or does poorly, or a condition that puts it at a disadvantage. It must be noted, however, that depending on the competitive situation, a weakness may or may not make a company vulnerable to competition. Example of weaknesses are as follows: lack of qualified manners, poor design of the firm's products, low employee morale, and poor location of the firm's sales offices. Opportunity refers to the chance offered by the external environment to improve the firm's situation significantly. Example of opportunities are the following. For a motorcycle trading firm, the escalating cost of fuel. For a small restaurant, the withdrawal from business of a major competitor. For a tailor residing in a provincial city, the absence of a reliable tailoring shop. And for a newspaper dealer, an exclusive supply contract for the entire province offered by a major national publisher. Threats refer to a challenge posed by an unforbearable trend or development in the external environment that will lead to the absence of purposeful entrepreneurial action. The erosion of the entrepreneurship position. Example of the threats are the following. The grocery store, the proposed opening of a small in the vicinity. To the restaurant located along the highway. The proposed construction of a diversion road bypassing the highway and the restaurant. To the local dealer of skin whitening soap and cream. The proposed dissolution of the company supplying the product. And to the local operator of 20 units of public utility tricycles. The proposed city ordinance banning tricycle from applying the major street of the city.
Forecast of future sales performance. Forecasts are supplementary tools or SWOT analysis. It is an estimate or a prediction of the future sales or income of the firm. Forecasts may be short-term, 1 year less, medium-term, 1 to 5 years, long-term, over 5 years. Sales forecasts are often determined through a combination of statistical and intuitive forecasts tempered by experience of the entrepreneur. Implementing strategic plans. Number 1. Identifying the specific methods to be used. Number 2. Deploying the resources needed to implement the intended plans. Identifying specific methods. If established branches strategic location is stated strategy, the tactical plan to implement it may appear as follow. Number 1. Identify strategic location. Number 2. Determine the potential of the identified strategic location. Number 3. Set a timetable for installing the branches. deploying the resources. The specific aim of planning is to able to deploy the right quality and the quality of resources in the various activities required to achieve the objectives. The resources will be indicated in terms of human and non-human elements. Fundamental strategies for a small business. There are certain basic strategies that are necessary for the survival of small business. These are the following. Number 1, flexibility strategy. Number 2, strategy of effectiveness are higher priority. Number 3, strategy of starting simple. Flexibility strategy. Small business ventures is not usual afforded the advantage enjoyed by large business. It is very difficult for small business to effect change in its environment because its resources are usually limited. For instance, a small business cannot match the advertising budget of large business if they are in competition with one or another. When hindrances such as those prevent the small business from pursuing its object, it must consider other means. This is possible if the small business is flexible enough. For instance, when the small appliance dealer does not have the facilities to deliver goods directly to the customer, the entrepreneur can hire the service of a small transport operator. Another option could be the granting of discount to offset the delivery expense that will be shouldered by the customer. Such reminders, however, will require a certain degree of flexibility on the part of the small business.
Strategy of effectiveness as higher priority. Effectiveness is sometimes sacrificed for the sake of efficiency. Although efficiency is a desirable goal, it is oftentimes disastrous for a small business to neglect effectiveness. A firm that concentrates on efficiency may be able to reduce its expenses, but it may be able to generate sufficient income to keep it afloat. First of all, effectiveness is the degree to which something is successful in producing desired result, while efficiency is defined as the ability to accomplish something with the least amount of wasted time, money, and effort in performance. That's why effectiveness is sometimes sacrificed for the sake of efficiency. At the early stage in the life of a small firm, when the venture is still trying to gain a foothold in the market, turning out the first product and closing the first sale are of more basic concern than making a profit. As concerns for organization and structure are aimed at increasing efficiencies, such activities must be in the beginning give way to effectiveness. Strategy of starting simple. In starting a new business venture, the entrepreneur often encounters problems related to financing. The temptation is great for the entrepreneur to finance all the activities required in operating the venture. As expected, however, funds are not always sufficient. It may be wise for the entrepreneur to let his subordinates perform the more simple tasks and subcontract those that will need more elaborate employees, skill, and or special equipment. An example is the manufacturer of salted peanuts, who cannot produce packaging of his products at cost lower than what a package manufacturer produces. As a result, he accepted the package manufacturer of a subcontract. Subcontract is a contract for a company or person to do work for another company as part of a larger project. In choosing the subcontract option, the entrepreneur is afforded with the following advantages. Number 1, he has more time to attend the more important tasks, like searching for new markets. And number 2, he is relieved of the burden of the financing the subcontracted tasks. The general idea is for the small business venture to start simple and absorb slowly the more complicated tasks as it grows. Strategy concerns of small business. In determining what strategy to adopt, the entrepreneur is confronted with two general situations. Number 1, is he organizing a new business? Or number 2, is he currently running an old business? New business. This term refers to one that will be operated for the first time by the small business operator. If so, his option consists of the following: 1, acquiring an existing business; 2, organizing a new business; and 3, buying a franchise. In all business, there are two options: compete with small business, and 2, compete with large business. When making a choice between the three options in new business, the entrepreneur or the small business operator must consider the advantage and disadvantage of each. The resources of the prospective entrepreneur are also important factors.
A new business. The new business refers to the one that will operate for the first time. A small business operator uses this kind of business may consist of these following options. Number 1, acquiring an existing business. Number 2, organizing a new business. Number 3, buying a franchise. In choosing between the three options, the entrepreneur must consider the benefits and limitations of each option. The resources of the prospective entrepreneur is also an essential factor. Strategies for a growing concern. The strategic problems of small business are not as intense as those of large companies, even though the small business cannot compete for head-on with big business. Its scope has built-in maneuverability, a significant competitive weapon. The following strategies may apply to small business. Number 1, segment markets, in which the operator needs to distinguish the market segment with which it has the expertise and compete. Number 2, efficient use of research development. In this strategy, the operator must concentrate on the research and development efforts to lower the process cost or bring new products to the market. Number 3, think small. The business must emphasize gains and specialization rather than sales growth and diversification.
Why small business operators ignore strategic planning? Number 1, lack of expertise. Few small business operators are trained in strategic planning. Number 2, inability to get started. Even if small business operators are convinced about the importance of planning, they fail to get started for lack of sufficient exposure to planning activities. Number 3, uncontrollable, often intangible variables. The uncontrollable and often intangible variables complicated planning, which later on discourage the small business operators from repeating the exercise. Number 4, resource poverty. Planning requires time, but the small business operator oftentimes does not have it. This is so because he must attend to the problems related to lack of identity, capital, managerial experience outside advanced management specialists and other skills asset. Number 5. Focus on daily operations. The daily requirements of a small business usually keep the small business operator so busy that he is left with no time for planning. Number 6. Failure to realize the importance of strategic planning. The small business operator is exposed to the environment of successful Filipino businessmen who do not engage in strategic planning. This gives sufficient reason to disregard the benefits of strategic planning. It is ironic that even if studies show the usefulness of strategic planning, this activity is not fully appreciated.